Hi everyone and welcome to the channel. I hope everyone's doing well today. Well, I had made a video and I took it down. I wasn't really happy with my last video about some of the missing Texas women, and actually the missing Texas woman that I featured, Erica Hernandez, and then I had a Vietnam veteran and also another gentleman out of Houston. So I'm still kind of getting used to the system, and I'm going to go ahead. I want to cover another woman today, and then I'm going to go back and try and put together a few videos of missing people and just stay on top of a few of them. You know, uh, maybe once or twice a week, just feature some of the people that are missing because the more that and I mentioned this in the last video that I took down, the more that I look into this is, it's concerning. I know there's really nothing that I can do to bring anybody back, but I want to be sure that the victims that they don't, first of all, that they don't get forgotten, that they don't just get forgotten in society. And not only that, you know, I think we all need to be reminded that this kind of thing can happen to any one of us. And in a certain climate that we're in, it is really absolutely bringing about the worst in people. Unfortunately, when times get tough and people lose everything and they have nothing left to lose, they're going to go look for what they can take and steal. And if you're in the way, it doesn't really matter what it is. There's a lot of people out there that just do this to do this. I have allergies really bad today, so I apologize. What my plans are today, I want to cover this missing girl from Balmorhea, Texas. But at the end of this video, or if you just want to skip this video altogether, I'm going to attempt to leave a link to a victim offender mediation that took place up in Wichita Falls, Texas. The video covers the daughter of her murdered mother and the mother of the daughter that was murdered senselessly by two really pretty much teenage boys. And it had, you'll see the story. It's very, very disturbing, but this young woman had been at a gas station at midnight, and she felt sorry for these two guys, and they kind of gave a story that they were having vehicle troubles, and she ended up giving them a ride somewhere near around Alvin, Texas, and they ended up driving around into the middle of nowhere and did the unthinkable. So see, this is a thing, I know it was late at night. It is not her fault. But this story is very compelling, and it should just be a gentle reminder to not let your guard down. And I would say, as much emphasis as we hear about community and all of that, that we really don't, that it's important to have community and to help other people, you really have to be careful who you help. And I would just put a warning out there on making new and fast friends right now. And there are other ways to help people, but definitely don't let anyone into your car. If you have to stop and pull over, call the police a mile down the road. I mean, you're gonna have to use your best judgment. But I made that mistake once, and I was very fortunate that it was a female. But if you get a chance to check this out about the story, the victim offender mediation, if you want to get a look at what really goes on behind the scenes with victims, I want you to know that I'm not just coming from nowhere, coming out of nowhere with everything, that I am coming with a reason for why I'm doing all of this. So, okay, years ago, I would say back in 2018, I had been going through a really bad bout of PTSD that had really pretty much gone untreated most of my life. And I had never gotten a formal diagnosis or anything like that, although I pretty much knew that I had it. And my gun teacher pretty much brought it to light that I had it. And I'd gone to the self-defense training school, or the class. It was a weekend long class, and I continued with my shooting classes, and got to be pretty good, to be honest with you. And I really enjoy that sport. I do. I like skeet shooting. I like shooting. For sport, like just practicing, and then for self defense. It's a sport like anything else. So, but you have to be really responsible, and you just have to be extraordinarily responsible. There's no room for error. So, I went through that class, and I started feeling a little bit more empowered, and I was learning to carry, and that's a really important art in itself, is becoming comfortable with your weapon. So I learned to carry, and I, got to the point to where I started to feel weird if I wasn't. But anyway, you'll develop your own personal relationship with whatever weapon you choose, and you may not choose to carry one. So we decided to go out of town, and I just kind of randomly chose Balmorhea. And I had always wanted to go to the spring-fed artesian pool. So it looked so beautiful. It was like an oasis, and I was really excited to go. And so it took us forever to get out there. And West Texas is no man's land. It really is. It's just no man's land. On the way out there, you really feel like you're on the moon. And uh, I thought, oh my gosh, where are we going? I had no idea. And I hadn't been out to West Texas before. I definitely hadn't been to uh, Balmorhea. But once we got out there was this really cute little town called Balmorhea, and we stayed. We found ourselves, I had booked us a place at a little lodge there. This older couple ran it, and I really liked them a lot. The guy was a Vietnam veteran. I don't even know if they're there anymore, but people from all over the world were going there. I mean, because of the waters there. The waters there are healing. The crystal clear lake or the spring-fed pool is just absolutely beautiful. And I couldn't wait to get in it. And the water that came out of the tap was artesian. The lake was artesian. The lake was absolutely incredible. It was just absolutely beautiful. Um, Artesian water has it's like a smoky quartz, just gorgeous color, and really, it's indescribable. You have to really see it for yourself. But I kind of wanted you to see, like, look how close it is to Ciudad Juarez. It's very close to the border, but Lake Balmorhea in and of itself has this depth of color to it, and it's kind of a liquid crystal color. And I grew up on a farm and we had an artesian lake, and so I recognized that water like right away. This is taken from the dam, but it's absolutely a beautiful lake. So anyway, you can kind of see where it is out in West Texas. And so, we were having a really good time, and I just loved this little town. I wanted to move there. I thought, this place is just perfect for me. It was small, tiny little town. Uh, you could walk the perimeter of it at night if you wanted to, for the most part. And we did. We walked our dogs, and we had a really good time. And I thought, God, all these little houses look like they're from the 50s, and time had just really stood still in Balmorhea. Time just stands still there. And the word was that a lot of these streets that had those houses in it that were just so back from the 50s, they just looked like they were frozen in time. The people there would say that if you were to walk into any one of those houses, that it would look like whoever was living there had just gotten up and left. Because most of the people that had passed on, their kids and grandkids all moved to the big city to get away from Balmorhea, because there really is no work. There's refineries that are in the area, but I don't know if they're up and running anymore. And it's just kind of a ghost town, really, in some ways, but it's a town where everybody knows everybody. And so that it just looked so safe to me. And I thought, gosh, if I could just get out of the city and live in a small town again, it would fix all of my problems. And I wouldn't have to deal with the violence in the city and the creeps in the neighborhood and the guy living out of his car and all the vagrants that we have. And, I just wouldn't have to worry about that. Well, one afternoon, we went to the little bitty grocery store that was on kind of the main road in Balmorhea. And I saw this picture. It was on a flyer right here. And I was shocked. It was on the inside of the grocery store window. And I thought, you've got to be kidding me. There's no way there's any crime in this town. And I read the flyer and I saw she'd been missing from October 1st, 2003. At the time that I saw her, it was I saw the picture. That picture was still in the window, probably 2018 when I went there. And I could not believe it. I just could not believe that there was someone from this town that everybody knew that this girl was missing without a trace. So I did some investigating on it. And I'm going to close this image and see if it'll let me close it. I did some investigating on it. And let me see if I can find what I'm looking for here. And there's a story to it. She had been having some problems with her mother. And I believe she was living in, a little bit outside of Alpine. And due to the problems she was having with her mother, she moved in with her aunt and uncle in a little area just kind of right outside Balmorhea. And so she was living with this aunt and uncle and apparently some cousins. And she had lost a tremendous amount of weight. Let me see if I can find it. She was anorexic, I do know that. Anyway, her father had just died in, I believe, 2000. This article actually, to me, really kind of captured my interest because it really puts together the story in a way that made the most sense for me. I've read all of the really basic intel. So I knew she was having problems with her mother. I read that she was anorexic, and, I understand that she suffered that major trauma with her father dying. And one thing I can tell you about anorexics is that when women become that way, typically it's because everything in their world is so chaotic that the only thing that they can control is what they put in their mouth. And so a lot of times people that are going through some type of PTSD or anorexia, I know it manifested that way within me for a period of time. I kind of completely quit eating. I ate very little and I got very thin. And that for Monica started after her father died of bone cancer. So I also believe that she had some type of issue with her mother that, anorexics often that's manifesting for a reason. And it can be from a trauma, like her father, but it can also be due to somebody, harassing you sexually. And that was happening with her. And they make very little light. They don't really go into all of that, but I'm just going to read this to you and see what you think. It says Monica Carrasco, 16 at the time, was last seen by her aunt and uncle around 11 p.m. on October 1st, 2003, at 3701 County Road 323 in Balmorhea, Texas. Monica was staying with them following an argument with her mother. So she's at her aunt and uncle's house. At 1:30 a.m., Monica's cousins checked on her. I find that odd, but anyway, they checked on her, and she was asleep in her bed. By 6 a.m., she had vanished. Monica left behind her personal belongings, including clothes and shoes. However, her Bible was missing. I do know she was a Bible thumper. She had her Bible with her all the time. And anyway, police found no evidence of forced entry, and her room was undisturbed. Monica's relatives said she was an avid runner and may have gotten up early to go running. However, she was still in her beige nightgown and did not have shoes on. The terrain is rugged with rocks, cacti, and thorns, so it's not an ideal place someone would run in without shoes. And check it out there. That's what it looks like. That's totally what it looks like out there. Okay, and not only that, the road that surrounded the perimeter of Balmorhea when we were there, a majority of it was gravel and rock. It wasn't even paved. And what was paved was extremely craggy. I mean, it was potholes. It was, it just was not a town that had really had any kind of improvements made. It's just kind of a dusty West Texas town. So, there's no way you would go anywhere without your shoes on. I mean, that's just really not an option, especially in your nightgown and no shoes with just your Bible. So, those roads are really treacherous there. Okay, Monica's relatives also believe she may have become disoriented from her medications and wandered off. So, right there and then, you've already got people shifting blame to the victim. That's just real subtle, but I'm not saying the writer of this article did that. But these are an awful lot of indicators that the victim is being blamed for this, and people are getting the attention shifted off and away from them. So despite air and land searches, Monica Carrasco has never been found. Land and air searches out there. Y'all, that area is flat, it's desolate, and there is nowhere to hide. Police searched the aunt and uncle's home extensively but found no evidence of a crime. Monica's uncle took and failed a polygraph test. I don't think those are admissible in court, but I'm really not sure how accurate those lie detector tests are, but I don't think it's a good sign, but I don't know. A few months before she disappeared, Monica was harassed by her school bus driver to the point she refused to ride the bus again. Okay, that's huge. That's huge. She already had these issues, guys. She already had issues with her mother. Something was going on with the aunt and uncle that she was staying with. And then she's got this school bus driver who must have been so incredibly inappropriate that this girl had her Bible and was extremely religious and starving herself to death. Was anorexic. I don't know what happened with that school bus driver, but he must have really done something to the point that she was fearful of for her life and her physical safety. She did not report the abuse to the authorities. Police interviewed him after she vanished, and they ruled him out as a suspect. It's unclear why he was ruled out. In 2015, police reopened the case. In 2000, Monica's father passed away from bone cancer, and she became severely depressed. She was hospitalized for depression and anorexia after she lost over 50 pounds. However, most people do not believe she took her own life, and her mother does not believe she ran away. So if she didn't run away and she didn't take her own life, there has to be someone who knows. So this is just the thoughts of the author. She thinks that the aunt and uncle knew more than they were saying. To suggest she may have gone running in her nightgown and bare feet is just plain ludicrous. It says all we have about Monica Carrasco's last moments are from her family. She went to bed at 11 and her cousins checked on her at 1:30. Why would they check on a 16-year-old girl? The author thinks that's strange. The last people who saw her alive were the same people who came up with the silly running away theory and who offered up that she might have been disoriented. There's no way an avid runner would run barefoot in a nightgown through rugged terrain. Police didn't find any evidence that a crime had been committed at the aunt and uncle's house. And then there was a question about outdoor buildings and vehicles. Maybe the crime was committed in an entirely different location. And then there's just theories that are, asked about whether somebody could have knocked outside the entrance in her room. But who could that have been? And did she have a boyfriend? Why did she take her Bible, but nothing else? And why would she not put clothes on? And then, there's another theory about whether or not she met somebody on the internet. And then the author goes on to describe that she doesn't think her depression had anything to do with her disappearance. Some people think that she might have committed suicide, but, where's the body? And then there's that significance of the missing Bible. So, Balmorhea is a very small town in West Texas and not too far from Mexico. So if someone did take her, they might have known her. But, this particular writer is casting a little bit of doubt about the aunt and uncle's story. What the motive was, and I'm not going to read that word out loud, what they think he was. I don't know these people. But I can tell you that someone with anorexia who's acting out compulsively and has been hospitalized for those things has already got a life so complicated by issues, her own personal issues and demons, that her ability to make any kind of rational decision at that point is going to be pretty much next to zero. It sounds to me that her whole entire existence was just plagued by people who, after her father passed, by people that she felt she couldn't trust. I went on to read another article that she ran into her substitute teacher at, I'm sorry, I have allergies really bad today, that she had run into her substitute teacher. She'd gone back to Balmorhea High School, the night before. She saw her substitute teacher, and that she was in really good spirits, and she was really excited to see that teacher. And she also saw her best friend, whose name was Sylvia, and that, those were really pretty much the only two people that she, I guess, would say that were safe people in her life. Let me see if this one's going to pull up. This is an odd thing I found. It says that the night before she went missing, Catherine Carrasco of Alpine remembers the last conversation she had with her daughter, Monica, who had been missing since October 2nd, 2003. It says that Monica's uncle's place of business, which I don't know what that was, Monica joined hands with her mother and her aunt, and they formed a circle. I told her I loved her, Catherine recalls, and she said she loved me. Then we prayed. Then the next day she disappeared. I don't know. That's just, her room was undisturbed except for a missing Bible. No sign of missing clothes, shoes, or bags. No sign of forced entry. You know, that just strikes me as strange that there was a prayer circle like that, and then she goes missing. That's just odd. I don't know. That's just odd. You would think she'd be safe. So, one thing I just wanted to add is that, all of us, we all start out as little babies. We all start out, in our mother's wombs. And God knew us before we were formed. And, when we're born into this life, we're not really told or informed, or there's really not a guidebook when we come to this, when we come to this place. And it's, what we don't know is that this world, as violent as it is a lot like, one of these roads in Balmorhea. It's a rocky road. It's a rocky road with desert terrain that's thorny, gravelly, treacherous, long, and, a lot of times not even suitable for driving, much less running down barefoot. And the only way that you can really navigate it, the terrain, is by having a really good pair of shoes and a good map and a good foundation. And, we don't always all get that. And we never know where this life is going to take us. And so, I have learned and survived something that a lot of people don't come back from. And I'm fortunate for that. I really am. I'm very fortunate for that. But I really truly believe that you have to work on your spiritual foundation and come to some sort of resolution, work out your grievances that you have. And not just with other people, but towards yourself. And it can take you your entire life to forgive yourself for things. And, we're all not here for very long. And by the amount of people that have gone missing, that are going missing as we speak, and haven't been found, and the people that are victims of crime, like the link that I'm going to leave below, you can get all the justice that you want, and you can do and give all the forgiveness that you have inside of you, but it's still going to be there. It's still going to be there. So if you have been victimized and you're still going through it, don't beat yourself up, and definitely don't starve yourself to death. You need love and nurturing and nourishment, and you deserve those things. We all do. Some people get it, some people don't. The ones who don't get it, there's a percentage that they will. It's not if, but is when they will act out or reenact or act out their misfortune and take it out on society. And I understand that a lot of inmates have been released in all these other states. We've got a lot of people coming in from another country, and these are people that are displaced and without a plan. And it's really important that you take care of yourself. It's really important that you protect yourself right now. And I would suggest being really careful about making fast friends with anyone. And if you are going to help somebody, or you stop to help somebody, women out there, don't let anybody into your vehicle ever. And I'm even going to go so far as to say, if someone knocks on your door, don't just go and answer it. And don't make it obvious or apparent that you're in the home. Uh, you know, don't just open the door to anybody. And just because someone's in a utility or city gear or city garb, don't answer the door and let them in through the garage. Don't do it while you're alone. If you've got to call the police, if you feel weird about somebody, I'm going to tell you to go ahead and call the police. We're paying, our tax money goes to their paycheck. Is how they get paid. And there are a lot of good city workers out there. There are a lot of good, professionals that are out there, but we've already had a problem with that on our street. Anybody can go and get a uniform. I went into a tool shop the other day and they were selling uniforms like uh, those neon colored vests, and you can go buy badges that make it look like you're a cop at gun shows. There's just a lot of ways that people can have themselves appear to be some sort of official. But unless you've called the city yourself and they've given you a time frame and you're armed, in my opinion, and you know that someone's going to be coming and you ask for that ID before you open the door, even if you've got it scheduled. But I guess what I'm just trying to say is that you just really have to be on guard and be careful about who you help out there. The link below, that lady was at a gas station at midnight and she felt sorry for those two younger boys. And they committed really probably the most heinous acts of violence that I've seen in a while. So, that element is out there, and I want everybody to be safe. And I know this is a serious topic, but, even in a small town like that, and there was heavy police presence in that area, there was a lot of DPS troopers in Balmorhea. People get pulled over all the time there, especially out of state license plate drivers, vehicles. So, it may look like moving to a small town. I thought it would be the greatest thing in the world, that I would be safe forever there, that it would be a refuge, a place where the spring waters are clean and there'd be no violence. And then when I found that flyer in that little grocery store that just pretty much sold bologna and white bread and, you know, American cheese and some things that looked like they'd been on the shelves a long time, and then I saw her face, I thought, you can run, but you can't hide. And geographic relocations aren't always the best uh, solution. So anyway, I'm just sending out prayers for Monica, and um, God knows where she is. God knows where she is. But anyway, everybody, just take that extra step in protecting yourself today. And I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to do this, to be honest with you. I have a lot of things kind of going on, and uh, you know, our society is just in a really strange place, and I have a lot kind of to do to secure, not just better secure, our perimeter, but our neighbors are all are all really getting, we're all just beefing up the security in our area, so we can all look out for one another, and we do that anyway. But anyway, okay, well, I know I'm kind of belaboring everything, but I hope everyone has a really nice day, and just, don't let your guard down, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Okay, everyone. Well, thank you, and talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.